Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1187A, and today's date is January 25th, 2017, and the title of the episode is Everything is About to Change, and the People Are Going to Feel the Economic Shock. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Well, today we see the Dow has finally hit 20,000 points. Now what? Now, many people say that this is going to continually move up and up and up. Well, I really don't think so. I think what's happening right now is that the elite, those people who understand what is going on, the insiders, they realize that, well, they're going to drop the economy. Either Trump is going to beat him to it, or they're going to do it, because we are approaching a period of time where there's going to be a lot of pain in America. And most likely a lot of people are going to blame Trump. Other people are going to say, hey, he has nothing to do with this. And we can see as time goes on why he needs to be there. Because he understands bankruptcy. He understands defaulting. He understands reorganization. And he understands what it feels like to take the heat, to take the pain. And many people who are in the U.S. who believe that this is going to last forever, that this will never end, that everything that I have is safe, well, they're going to be in for a rude awakening. They're going to feel the economic shock when it hits. And a lot of people are not going to be able to handle this too well. I mean, there's no other way to put this, because what we're seeing right now is a deterioration of the real economic data. I'm not talking about the stock market. The stock market is completely fake. The stock market means absolutely nothing. All it means is that everyone is in the illusionary world looking at the market thinking that everything is fine. But everything underneath that, well, it is not fine. And we're starting to see a lot of information come out looking like that nothing is going well whatsoever. Think about all the stores that have closed. Think about how many people have been laid off. How many manufacturing plants left the United States? I mean, this happened over many, many years. It just didn't happen one day. I mean, we're looking back now and saying, whoa, what just happened here? But this has been ongoing. And there are other countries out there that have the manufacturing. They have the ability to pay these individuals who work in these factories a lot less. They're more efficient. And to bring everything back, it can't be done in 1 year. You can start the process. And I believe that's what Trump is doing right now. He's starting the process. Because you need to start someplace. And I understand that. But to recover this economy right now and make it whole again, it's not going to work, because we already heard from the budget director talking about the debt. And we can see already that Trump is starting to make a lot of cuts. And people are not going to be happy whatsoever. And when the main cut comes, well, this is going to ripple throughout the United States, and many people are not going to be happy. Now, we know the debt ceiling vote comes up in March. Most likely it will pass, because at this point, there's nothing else they can do. Now, what happens if it doesn't pass? What happens if they don't raise the debt level? Think about how many programs just completely stop. They can't function anymore because the government can't borrow any more money. Think about what happens to the dollar. Now, if they raise the debt ceiling, it just prolongs what is coming. And we can see already that Trump is preparing for this. And when we look at the real hard data out there, when we look at retail, for instance, we know a lot of stores are closing, a lot of people got laid off. We see that mall owners, well, they're rushing for the exits. Commercial mortgage-backed securities, well, defaults, they're up all across the country. with liquidations up 11% year on year. What does that tell you? That tells you that retail is dying because the everyday person who would normally go out and purchase retail, they're not doing it. Even online, it's not happening. And we're seeing more and more stores close, which means there's a lot more real estate. I think there's like $90 billion worth of real estate in the commercial realm. And it's getting worse as time goes on. Look at Caterpillar, for instance. Caterpillar's stock continues to soar, and its operations continue to decline. They have 49 months of declining sales. That's longer than the Great Recession. The Great Recession was 19 months. And we can see that sales are not getting better. If we look at North America, if we look out in Europe, Latin America, we see they've declined by 12%, 21%, and 34%. And I understand that Trump wants to bring all these jobs back. And like I said just before, that he's doing this and setting it up for after the reset. Because right now, he understands that this system, it can't go anywhere. So it looks like he's setting up for a bankruptcy of the United States and getting ready to restart it. And I think a lot of people, when they look at this, they think, well, oh, look, he's just going to bring back jobs and everything's going to be fine. And this is furthest from the truth. He's going to bring back jobs after we go through the pain. Because we're going to need to restart. We're going to need to rebuild. And we're going to go through this time period where it's not going to be pretty. Now, we see right now that Kevin Brady, the chief tax policy on Capitol Hill, well, he launched a robust defense on of his proposal of tax imports. And it's sought to tie in with Donald Trump's America First economic agenda. But the problem with this, and the same thing with the border tax, is that it's not compliant with the World Trade Organization. Now, they all know this. They know that this is not compliant whatsoever. But they know that it will take years to settle. And they know that they will be able to use it at this point if they push it forward. And they'll worry about the ramifications a lot later. So I don't know how far they will get with this, because right now, if they're going to start a trade war, nobody is going to win a trade war. We see from the Hoover Institute, and they report that in trade wars, nobody wins. They did a whole study on this, and it doesn't work. And we can see right now that Mexico, well, they're looking to quit NAFTA if Trump crosses the red line, because he wants to renegotiate NAFTA. Now, I mean, if Mexico wants to leave, so be it. I don't think that's really a big deal at this point. There's more important things going on here than these trade agreements, because what is happening is the economy, well, it's deteriorating. Now, we understand that the Fed and these different individuals in government, well, they want the interest rates to go back to normal. Now, interest rates were at 6.62% prior to the Great Recession. Can you imagine if interest rates went back to 6% on the $20 trillion? That would be $1.2 trillion a year in interest expense. Right now, that's completely impossible to sustain. It's 31% of the federal budget, which would mean massive cuts in every other spending program. So right now, we understand that there's no way and no way out of this unless we default, unless we collapse. So the White House is taking this one step further. While all this is happening, we see U.S. Treasury nominee Steven Mnuchin. Well, he voiced his support for a higher standard of transparency in the Fed's actions. And we can see right now that Rand Paul and others, they're pushing this bill, which is gaining traction now, to audit the Fed. Now, the Fed most likely will not let this happen. They don't want to be audited. They like their independence. They're on a different mission than the rest of the people here in the United States. And what we're seeing right now is that Donald Trump on the campaign trail, well, he repeatedly attacked the Fed for being excessively politicized and playing along to the Democrat agenda of the ultra-affordable credit and the off-limits balance sheet expansion, resulting in a huge amount of funds being squandered at the expense of the higher U.S. national debt. And he went on to say that, I used to think they were independent, and the Fed is obviously not independent. It's obviously not even close to being independent, Trump said. I would want to have a policy where we can begin to gently reduce debt, because right now it is not under control. What happens if the interest rates go up fairly substantial, he said? What happens with all the money we have and we are borrowing? You know what that does to our balance sheet. I mean, that's a cost that's beyond belief. And he's absolutely right. He understands that this cannot be sustained. And this is why I'm thinking all of this publicity, everything that he is doing, he's preparing for this reset. Because the jobs cannot be created now. Let's take all the numbers and add them all up. I mean, you add them all up, and maybe the 10 companies that said they were going to bring jobs back, and let's say it was all 15,000. I mean, that's 150,000 jobs. That's not going to push the American economy into the black and everything's going to be fine. It's going to absolutely do nothing at this point. But the point that he's trying to make here is that we need to start bringing it back. And he understands from a businessman's perspective on how companies default, how companies go bankrupt, how you can take that and then rebuild it later. And this is why America needs to look inside first before we can actually help anyone outside. And that's why he's creating these executive orders right now where he's cutting spending, he's cutting the funds that are going overseas, because he realizes that we're going to be going through a lot of pain right now. And it's going to hurt a lot of people. And people are not going to understand what is going on. And of course, the corporate media is going to be playing it up that he brought down the economy. And I don't really think he cares about that, because he understands that this is the only way. We can continually pretend all we want. But eventually, the pretending comes to an end, just like it did every single other time throughout history. This is not different than any other time. Yes, the elite want you to think that it's different, because they've destroyed our way of life. They took us down a path where the ending is not good. They took us down a path where there's no way out, because what they were planning was to reset this and start their system all over again. Now they're nervous and afraid, because when the reset comes, it's not going to be with their system. It's going to be something completely different. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.